I know you told this on the last podcast, McClay, but just so Tyler knows, can you tell your experience with marijuana with your brother?
Yeah.
And everything, because I think it's a great story.
I was actually talking to, I'm glad you brought this up. I was talking to a medical marijuana doctor the other day, and I was telling him this story because I think it's something that these doctors and a lot of people out there need to talk about with people, so people hear things like this, and I'm glad I'm able to tell this. I'll tell it as many times as I can on the show, and I know people hate hearing it over and over, but my brother was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer called osteosarcoma 3 years ago now, and
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Well, the story is pretty amazing. Very rare form of cancer. Like 1% of people that get, or 10% of people that get cancer, they get a sarcoma, and then 1% of those 10% get osteosarcoma, if I'm correct. I believe that's what it is. So it's very rare. So at the time, the Mayo Clinic here was like, we want him down here, right? We want to work on him, which is a good thing and a bad thing, but it was a good thing, for us because we were pretty bummed out. And so he went down there and he had a 9-inch tumor in his femur and his 8-inch tumor in his femur and his thigh, right? And the marrow of his thigh and his femur, I mean. And so they had to shrink the tumor to 80% or shrink it down at least 20% in order to do the surgery to remove the femur safely. That way the cancer doesn't spread through the body.
Sure, yeah. So
they said, okay, he's going to have to go through a very intense chemo regimen for, a year basically, which was beyond intense. It was 4 days in the Mayo inpatient, 4 days, then like 3 days off, then like 10 days, 6 days off. And that just kept going back to 4 days, back to, and at the point of about 6 months, I'd say he was pretty close to death. The chemo had ravaged him. He hadn't eaten. He hadn't drinking anything in weeks. Even the smallest bit of drops of water would just be terrible for him.
Make him sick, huh?
Yeah, and not just sick. I mean, you're so weak at that point, and it was scary. And I kind of get choked up talking about this sometimes because there's a really good friend that we had in the medical marijuana industry here in the Valley. And shout out to Ian Sawgy, our friend Sawgy. Yes. As people know him in the medical industry. He literally saved my brother's life. He came to us and said, hey, let me help. And what he was doing at the time was he was helping children who were dealing with cancer and their families. Amazing. And he was creating concentrate oils. And he came to us and said, hey, the chemo wasn't working. It wasn't shrinking it fast enough. And he said, cannabis will shrink that tumor. Just let me help. It'll help him with his, everything along the process. You don't have to stop the chemo if you don't want to. You can continue using, but this will help. Right. So he talked us into, letting him help, and he gave him 200 milligram concentrate pills 4 times a day, 800 milligrams a day. Literally, the story I like to tell is my brother was a smoker, and obviously he had to quit at that time. And all he wanted was a pack of cigarettes, right? And at this time, we couldn't get him even to take, pain medication because he'd get so violently ill, and it just really hurt him bad, And so I came to grab him and said, hey, and he was bad. And I said, Chris, I need you to take a pill for me. And the answer was basically no, not right now, I said, I'll go get you a pack of cigarettes if you take this one pill.
Even though he knew it was cannabis?
Yeah. At that point,
was it a THC?
It was 100%. It was THC. RSO? Yeah. So at this point, even if you know something's yes. Yeah. So this, I want to get into this after this. So even though at this point, when you know that something might help you, I think at this point, I know he might not want to admit it, but he was kind of getting to that point where he was getting close to calling it. You get to that point.
You never want to hear that.
Yeah. So it was scary, but again, I got there just in time, and Ian really,
he was
guardian
an
angel. It's the best way to put it.
I'm glad to hear that someone was able to be there.
And so I got the first pills, and I went to him and I said, Chris, just let me give you this one pill. And I said, I'll go get you a pack of cigarettes. You just take it. He agreed. Got him to take the pill. I went to go get the cigarettes. Took me about 45 minutes to come back, and I get back, and it's the first time he's gotten out of bed in weeks, and he's on the couch, and he's literally eating a bowl of mushed up chicken enchiladas. Amazing. Right, his color had come back within an hour. It was It was like the hand of God had kind of just touched him, said,
well, Ian was part of like
Yes,
God and handed him this fucking thing from Earth.
That's amazing.
And within a couple of months,
oh shit, it's all good.
Within a couple of months, the tumor had shrunk down small enough to do the surgery, and my brother is alive today because of the medical marijuana. The doctor said that to him.
It's amazing, man.
Yes,
it's amazing.
And seriously, I know. Hopefully, one of these times, maybe we might be able to cut this up in a clip for Ian's daughter and son to see this, because
I think that's fantastic. Thanks for sharing that story with me, man. That's
Ian passed away, and he saved a lot of people. He did. So, thank you to his children. Thank you.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.